day, my super fantastic science boffins. Just to let you know, I miss you all. Your faces, your energy, and the amazing science lessons we used to have. Hope you are ready for today's lesson. Let's have some fun.
Grade 6s, today we'll be talking about the importance of wetlands. Now before we get started, let's have a look at the instructions. Remember, it's extremely important for us to write the date and the heading. Make sure you have these notes either written out neatly and clearly. You're more than welcome to use color. If you do not write these notes in your book, please make sure that you have this printed out and stuck in your workbook. Now remember, if you have the academic packs, you can just take it from the academic pack and make sure it is in your workbook. If you print it at home on your own, you can also just print out and paste in your workbook. Now all we'll do for today's lesson is go through the PowerPoint and make sure we understand the importance of a wetland. And then, most importantly, we just need to remember to rule off our work, and I hope you enjoy learning more about our wetlands. The importance of a wetland. Before we actually realize what the importance of a wetland is, let's go and look at what is a wetland. Now, a wetland is an area covered by shallow water for most of the year. So shallow water meaning not too deep, but that is what we consider a wetland. Now, different types of wetlands could be swamps, marshes, shallow lakes, and flays. Now, the most well-known wetlands in South Africa are the St. Lucia wetland in the Ishimgala Wetland Park in KwaZulu-Natal. Now remember, there are many different types of wetlands and there are many different species of animals and birds and insects living in these wetlands. So just have a look at that beautiful picture and imagine what animals and living and non-living things might live in that wetland. And then we can kind of understand the importance of it. So let's have a look at the benefits of a wetland. Now the benefits of a wetland, it provides a habitat and a breeding ground for plants and animals, especially the birds, frogs and fish. Remember, these wetlands are these living things habitat. It's where they seek shelter and food and where they reproduce. Remember, that makes up the biodiversity of the world around us. So we really need wetlands. Now, it's a source of water for plants and animals, and it's a filter. So what a wetland actually does is it filters the water to make it clean. And then it removes the soluble and insoluble substances from the water, as the water is extremely forceful and it moves the water into different areas, and that is how it can get rid of different substances. Now, a wetland acts like a giant sponge that stores water and prevents flooding during extremely heavy rains. Now just think what happens when it rains. Where does all that water go? Think of when your grass or your garden or at school, when it gets extremely wet, the water disappears. But now we know it doesn't just disappear. Now in the dry seasons, water from wetlands help to keep the rivers and streams flowing. Now let's have a look at the impact of the loss of a wetland. Now, when we think of impact, we need to think, has it got a positive or a negative impact? And what is that impact actually got to do with the environment around us? Now, when we lose something, so an impact of the loss of a wetland. Now, I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound pretty good to me. So when we lose our wetlands, this is actually the dangers that we have. Wetlands are destroyed because more land is needed for housing and agriculture and industries. That's where we get all our buildings and our factories for us to eat and produce different products. The world's population is continually increasing. And remember, when we say the population is increasing, it just means that there are more and more humans in the world. Now, because it's increasing, it requires more wetlands to be drained and destroyed to make space for the different houses and industries to open up. And as a result, the world has lost half of its wetlands in the last couple of years. Now, I want you to think of those lost wetlands and all those animals, birds, insects, all those living species are affected and could become extinct or endangered. Wetlands and biodiversity. When wetlands are destroyed, plants and animals in those wetlands no longer have a habitat, which means they no longer have a place to live in, reproduce in, and, to just survive and eat in. Now, some die and others may move away. But in the end, when wetlands are destroyed, the biodiversity is also destroyed. Remember, biodiversity, bio meaning life, and diversity meaning the variety. So if the biodiversity decreases when wetlands are destroyed, but when wetlands are created, there's an increase in biodiversity. So when we look at biodiversity, it is the different kinds of plants, animals, and other living things found in an ecosystem. Now let's take a look at the wetlands and the water quality. Wetlands, as we know, are extremely important for water quality as they serve as a filter. Remember, wetlands help us remove soluble substances. So these soluble substances are things like that we find in soaps, insecticides, and fertilizers. So these wetlands actually help the water quality and they serve as a filter, which means it helps us clean our water. Plants in the wetlands and the soil and gravel at the bottom absorb these substances. Is it not interesting how a wetland works so amazingly? It works as a whole, as a body on its own. So the water, the plants, the soil, and the gravel actually absorb and filter out to make the water cleaner. Now, the tiny organisms are called microorganisms, and they can break down toilet waste and make it harmless. Now, I hope you enjoyed that and that you have a bit more information about the importance of our wetlands and what a wetland actually is. I would please like you to make sure that you have these notes in your workbook in some sort of form. Now, thank you for listening, but please know, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me and ask me. Please, I would love to hear what you think about wetlands and the benefit of them and the importance of why we need them. And most importantly, how can we save our wetlands?